You ever look at a piece of software and wonder what's really happening under the hood? Well, today we're going to peel back the curtain. And we're going to do it by looking at something that seems, well, kind of boring on the surface. A technical document for accounting software in Lithuania. But trust me, we're about to uncover a whole hidden world, all starting with just a single word.
So let's start with what sounds like a simple question. What does it really take to translate one word? You might think, easy, just open a dictionary. But no, as you're about to see, that one word is the start of a fascinating rabbit hole that goes deep into rules, regulations, and even entire national systems.
All right, let's start with the first layer here, the language itself. We're not just talking about a simple, direct translation. We're talking about professional context, where the choice of a single word can have real, actual financial consequences.
And boom, this slide right here basically answers our opening question. The software team originally translated the English word creditors to tikėjas. Now, that literally means supplier. Close, but not quite right. In the super precise world of Lithuanian accounting, the correct term is kreditoriai. It's a professional term, a piece of jargon, not something you'd use in everyday conversation.
And that's the whole point, right? Localizing software isn't just about speaking Lithuanian. It's about speaking the language of a Lithuanian accountant. Every single word has to line up with industry standards. It's all about professional precision.
Here's another perfect example of that. Open set of books was translated literally. But you know what? An accountant would never say that. The corrected professional way to say it is atverti apskaitos duomenis, which really means open accounting data. It seems like a small difference, but in a professional context, it's absolutely critical.
Okay, so let's go a layer deeper. Those professional words, they aren't just picked out of thin air. They're actually dictated by a formal set of rules that every business has to follow. Welcome to the rules layer. And get this, in Lithuania, there isn't just one rulebook. The software has to know which one to follow. Most smaller companies use the Lithuanian Business Accounting Standards, or LBS, which are tailor-made for the local scene. But the big players, we're talking publicly traded companies, banks, insurance firms, they have to use the international IFRS standards. The software has to be smart enough to handle both systems seamlessly.
So, we've gone from words to professional jargon to legal rulebooks. Now let's zoom out one more time. Because this software doesn't just live on a computer, right? It has to plug directly into the entire country's digital tax system. This is the system layer. And that system has a name. IMAS, the Smart Tax Administration System. And let me be clear, this is not optional. It is a mandatory, high-tech government system, and every single piece of accounting software in the country has to be able to talk to it flawlessly.
So how does this whole thing work? Well, the software is on the hook for creating and sending a bunch of key reports to the government automatically. It has to generate a file with every single invoice, another one for tracking goods on the road, and of course, the official monthly VAT return. It's basically in a constant digital conversation with the taxman. And this is where a seemingly tiny detail, like a country code, suddenly becomes a huge deal. That little two-letter code is everything. It's what tells the system whether to apply EU or non-EU tax rates. It's needed for international payments, and if that code is wrong or missing, the tax authority will flat out reject the company's reports. It has to be perfect every single time.
Now, you might be thinking a system this complicated must be set in stone, right? Nope. It's always moving, always changing. And that brings us to our final layer, the catalyst of time and new laws.
And there's a huge catalyst coming up. On January 1st, 2026, a massive legislative update is going to hit Lithuania. And this isn't just some minor patch. It's a fundamental change that's going to force every single piece of accounting software in the country to be updated.
For starters, the standard corporate tax rate, it's going to jump from 16% to 17%.
Then they're introducing a whole new reduced VAT rate of 12% for stuff like hotels and transportation. And on top of that, the minimum revenue for a business to have to register for VAT is getting bumped up to 60,000 euros. The software's entire brain has to be rewired for this. This table really gives you the full picture of the shakeup. Just look, the old 9% VAT rate, gone, completely abolished. And see district heating? That used to get a tax break. Now it's being moved all the way up to the standard 21% rate. The software has to be meticulously updated to handle all of this, because if it's not, every single calculation it makes overnight becomes wrong.
So,
Let's tie this all together. What started as a simple question about one word has completely unraveled this massive interconnected system hiding just out of sight.
Think about the journey we just went on. We started with one word, creditors. We saw how its translation wasn't about everyday language, but about professional standards. Those standards are based on national accounting laws, which then have to connect perfectly with the government's digital tax system. And that entire complex structure is always in motion, constantly being updated by new laws. It's an amazing cascade of complexity.
This one quote from the document really says it all. A tiny, tiny piece of data, a two-letter code, triggers massive legal and financial consequences. If you get it wrong, you're not just making a typo, you're breaking the law and messing up your taxes. The stakes are unbelievably high.
So here's the big takeaway. The next time you open an app, any app, remember this. Every button, every menu, every little label you see is just the tip of a giant hidden iceberg. Underneath the surface, there's this deep, invisible foundation of legal requirements, financial regulations, and cultural rules holding the whole thing up.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As you go about your day, clicking and tapping on all your devices, just take a second and ask yourself, what hidden world, what invisible system of rules is running behind the screen that I'm looking at right now?